The 1987 Intifada began in the Gaza refugee camps in December after 4 Palestinians working inside Israel were killed when an Israel tank transporter hit their vehicles. Intifada is an Arabic word which in this case refers to the Palestinian uprisings against Israeli occupation of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. Within days, hundreds and thousands of Palestinians in the West Bank, inside the borders of Israel and in Gaza took to the streets in the largest demonstration in Palestinian history. Many protested in the Palestinian camps in Lebanon, Jordan and Syria. Solidarity demonstrations erupted in countries around the world. The Unified National Leadership of the Uprising, or the UNLU, was formed, made up of representatives from Fatah, PFLP, DFLP, the Palestinian Communist Party and other organizations within the PLO and other small parties. The UNLU called for various actions such as demonstrations, strikes and boycotts. A new generation of Palestinian leaders came, like Marwan Barghouti of Fatah and Ahmad Sadat of the PFLP. They were both illegally convicted and imprisoned inside Israeli jail. The Israeli military used the most vicious means to attempt to crush the Intifada. Israeli Army Chief of Staff Yitzhak Rabin, who would later become Prime Minister, proclaimed a policy of breaking bonds of demonstrators. Videos and images of Israeli troops holding down and breaking the hands, arms and legs of Palestinian children and youth enraged the public. Despite the repression, which included arrests, systematic torture and imprisonment of tens and thousands of people, the Intifada could not be defeated. The 1987 Intifada transformed the situation in Palestine. The prolonged 1987-1991 Intifada forced the US leaders to rethink their position. It became clear that all the killing, bond-breaking, torture, house demolitions and economic deprivation that the Israelis inflicted had not succeeded in crushing the Palestinians. In the year 1991, the Soviet Union, which had been a strategic ally of the Palestinians and Arab liberation movements, was overthrown and dissolved. Also, Yasser Arafat was now willing to talk with US, and this created an opportunity for peace negotiations. The negotiation began in Madrid in Spain, and this formed into the Oslo Accords of 1993. On September 13, 1993, President Clinton forced Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin to shake Yasser Arafat's hand in a White House signing ceremony. Rabin's reluctance was not just personal, but symbolic of the opposition of all Israeli leaders to give up any Palestinian territory. The Oslo Accords gave PLO the administration of Jericho and most of Gaza, and also 8 cities in West Bank and surrounding areas. Under the terms of Oslo, within 5 years there were to be negotiations on the status of Jerusalem, the status of Palestinian refugees and the status of Israeli settlements in the West Bank and Gaza. A phased turnover of land to the full Palestinian control would supposedly take place during that time. But Israel immediately rejected this, not agreeing to any of it. The Palestinian left organization also opposed Oslo. So did Hamas. Hamas was a militant organization with its ideology based from the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood or Ikhwan al-Muslimin. In the beginning, Israel saw Hamas as a means for drawing people away from the resistance organizations. But as the Intifada progressed, Hamas transformed into an active resistance organization. After Oslo, it became clear that Israel was tightening its hold on West Bank and not turning it over as promised. Hamas grew very rapidly after this. It became the largest organization opposing Oslo and carrying out armed resistance. By the year 2000, Israel was occupying the West Bank more than it had in 1993. The Palestinians thought that the Oslo Accords would help in the creation of a Palestinian state, but the Israeli leaders made sure that it didn't happen. Jews started settling in huge numbers. Between 1993 and 2001, the number of Israeli settlers in the West Bank, including Jerusalem, increased from 150,000 to 370,000. The declining living standards, relentless repression and great frustration led to the Al-Aqsa Intifada, which began in September 28, 2000. The event that triggered the new uprising was a visit by Ariel Sharon to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. The new Intifada began with massive street demonstration and thousands of young people throwing stones at Israeli troops. Thousands of Palestinians were killed, thousands more wounded and imprisoned. Having no tanks, air force or army, the Palestinian resistance forces responded with a variety of tactics, including a wave of suicide bombings inside Israel. Hamas carried out the great majority of these operations, but other organizations like the PFLP, the Islamic Jihad, the Popular Resistance Committees and the DFLP also engaged in armed resistance. However, only the Palestinian actions were labeled as terrorism by the US media. The suicide bombings caused significant amount of casualties in the Israeli side. Still, the Palestinian death toll between 2000 and 2008 was far higher than Israel, 4,907 on the Palestinian side and 1,062 on the Israel side. In March 2002, a number of Arab governments proposed a settlement plan. Israel should withdraw from the West Bank and Gaza, which would then become a Palestinian state. In exchange, all the Arab nations would recognize Israel. The Ariel Sharon-led Israeli government reacted in a predictable manner by launching a series of new assaults on the Palestinians, which led to the full reoccupation of all of West Bank and Gaza cities and towns by Israel. The Jenin refugee camps in the northern West Bank was mercilessly bombed and bulldozed. Dozens of Palestinians died, many laid under piles of rubble for weeks undiscovered. The brutality of the Jenin massacre was condemned worldwide. But once again, the United States, this time under the administration of President George W. Bush, protected Israel from suffering any type of international sanction, despite its ongoing and obvious violation of international law. The Israel military also launched a campaign of targeted assassinations against the leaders of resistance organizations. In 2002, the Sharon government began building an apartheid wall inside the West Bank. The wall separates the main Israeli settlements from the Palestinians, while effectively taking over large chunks of the West Bank. The International Court of Justice, the UN's highest judicial authority, declared the wall illegal in 2004. Israel and United States ignored the ruling. In fact, the Bush administration made no attempts whatsoever to disguise its support for Israel. By 2001, the Bush administration was determined to create a new Middle East through war and threats of war. Israel played a central role in its execution.